Assalamu alaikum. Hi guys, this is Sarah. Today I wanted to talk about some questions that you should ask your potential future spouse prior to getting married. I myself have been together with my husband for 10 years. We've been married for 7 years. So there was a period of 3 years where I got to know my husband before we were married. During that time, I pretty much got to know all the answers to these questions, and I feel like because of that I was much more prepared and knowing what to expect in a marriage with my future husband, rather than being in the dark. So the first thing that you need to ask this person and find out about them is the things that they enjoy. Now, this seems like a very simple question, but it's actually one of the most important, because here's the thing. I often hear people say stuff like opposites attract. And it's true, you can be attracted to anybody, you can have a good time with anybody, but you are going to have a far easier time in any relationship when you're similar on more levels. And I'm relating this to things that you enjoy, because me and my husband, we enjoy a lot of the same things. However, we have some serious differences on some of the things that we enjoy. He's definitely more of an inside person, loves to do things indoors, and I'm a very outdoorsy type of girl. That has been a big clash for us about things that we want to do when we have free time. No, we should do this. No, we should do that. And obviously, I'm not saying that your marriage is unworkable if you have different things that you both enjoy. Obviously, me and my husband have been together for quite a long time, and we have things that we don't agree on as far as things that we enjoy. But I'm just telling you, it's going to be a lot easier if you can find out the things that you enjoy, and even if it's not the exact same things, like, oh, you have this hobby and I don't have this hobby, that if it's generally sort of the same things, then you're probably going to have a much better time than being diametrically opposed in everything to the person that you're with. And part of that for me, I think, means finding out what they like to do on an average day. For example, asking them what their average weekday is versus an average weekend day, because of course, the things that we enjoy doing on a weekday is probably going to be very different than what we enjoy doing on a weekend, just because of work and school and our different obligations. The next thing that you should find out is essentially what their overall religious stance is on things, and pick out some particular things that are really concerning to you or that you really care about, to ask them about. For example, myself, I consider my Islamic ideology to be mostly falling in line with Sunni, and I don't have a particular madhab that I follow. If you are, I'm definitely a Shafi, or I'm definitely like a Maliki, or I'm definitely, whatever, that you follow a particular school of thought and you're really like, this is what I believe in, you might have a harder time with somebody else who follows a different madhab. And I'm not really saying like, oh, you're never gonna have a good relationship with somebody who follows a different madhab, or somebody who's Sunni versus somebody who's Shia. And I don't even want to hear arguments in the comments, by the way, about that. I'm just saying that, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but religious differences that are very large, you're probably going to have a hard time with, especially when you're making decisions about, for example, if you want kids, how are the kids going to be raised to believe this or that, or even how you're going to enforce things in your household. It may even be helpful to ask what kind of Islamic knowledge they trust. Do they always seem to go to one scholar? Do they only follow a certain website or a certain madhab? Or do they have to ask an imam in person, and then whatever that imam says is going to be the final word on the subject? It's important to know how somebody gets their Islamic information and what is the last word for them. The next question I would ask is essentially, what does marriage look like to them? This is for men and women. Is there an expectation that both people are going to be working after the marriage? For the man or the woman, does the woman expect that she's going to be staying home? That she says, well, I'm getting married, so I don't have to work anymore? Or does the guy say, oh, well, I don't really feel like you should work anymore. If that's something that's important to you, I'm not making any judgment about that, but if that's something that is important to you, one person working or going to school or not, or both people working or going to school, then that's something that really needs to be discussed. Because let's say you're the woman out there in this situation, and that this guy is, perfect for you in every other aspect, but he's saying, well, after we're married, I don't want you to work. And you have, your master's or your graduate degree, and you're in a field that you really care about and that you've done a lot of work in. And now this guy is saying he doesn't want you to work. Not that he can just tell you what to do, but obviously that's not something where you guys are going to be compatible. And that's something that's really going to cause problems in the marriage. And that's not the only thing. What about kids? Do you want kids at all? I know there's going to be some Muslims who are surprised out there going, what? Want kids at all? Because, having a ton of kids is something that's really, really, I guess, encouraged in the Muslim community. Do you want kids at all? How many kids do you want to have? Do you want to have a really large family? Because, I hear a lot of guys especially being like, oh, I want to have like 6 kids. And women are like, okay, we're good with 2. So that's something that really needs to be discussed. How do you want to raise them? What styles of child rearing do you essentially think is a good thing? Additionally, about what the marriage looks like. What are the expectations of each party? This almost goes into another question about what are the expectations in this marriage, as far as things all the way from the physical to what are the division of chores. Is this an equitable relationship, which Islamically I think it should be, but we all know there are people out there who don't exactly support that in practice. What does the relationship look like emotionally for both parties? What are the expectations of spousal behavior as far as in public and in private? The next thing to ask about are their goals in life. This one should seem pretty obvious to you guys. But also, where do you want to be, let's say in 10 years? Where do they want to be in life? What stages do they see their life going on? For example, if you were to ask me that, I would say, well, right now I'm working my current job. I work full time. I would love, within the next 10 years to start my own business. I've always wanted to start my own business, and I can see realistically doing that. Within the next 10 years, I don't know whether I would want to have kids or not. Ooh, that's another important thing to know. In the next 10 years, I expect that I'll have my own house, and I don't expect, for example, to be living with my husband's family. These are things that are important to talk about, and that's another thing. It gives you an idea of what life looks like after marriage to them. If your goals are completely unaligned in life, it's going to be difficult to find happiness. Another one of the most important things I think to ask about is essentially what the family relationship is like with the other person's family. And there's a lot of sub things in this one. For example, after marriage, do the parents expect you both to live with them? A lot of people don't think about that, and I see people posting about it and being like, oh my god, my fiance's parents want us to live with them after we're married, whether on a short-term basis or permanently, because we know that there's some families that expect that, until mom and dad die, they're going to be living with you. Are you okay with that? So you should really think about, what is the family culture? Are they expecting you to live with them? Are they expecting you to conform to their culture in any kind of way after marriage? Are they, extremely judgmental, gossipy? You need to ask some of these questions in like a respectful, tactful manner. But a lot of this is also going to come from actually interacting with the family, which I do not think that you should get married before meeting somebody's family, before spending a lot of time with their family before marriage. And some people are going to be like, how do I do that? How do I hang out with this family? Like, I don't really get this, especially if somebody's family is overseas. Obviously, if somebody's family is overseas, you are not going to be having that much interaction with them in the first place. But you still want to know some things about the family. If the family lives in a reasonable distance, I really think that you should be spending time with the family before marriage. And if you're somebody who's hardcore, like, oh, I gotta have a chaperone there, make your chaperone come with you to hang out with their family, because, I don't want to frame this in a negative way. Most of the time, I'm sure you're going to find out that people in the family are lovely people and that everybody has good parts and bad parts about them, right? In every family. But this is the best way to avoid getting tangled into a toxic family who can destroy marriages. Let's be honest, right? There are people who they're like, I am fine with my significant other, but their family completely just bulldozes over our relationship, doesn't give us any respect or space. So you want to find out about the family way before getting married. And if the family is very heavily, culturally influenced by one culture, is the family going to make decisions based on culture rather than religion, or get the two confused? You really want to think about that. Be careful, learn about the family beforehand, and just so that I'm not giving anybody a total scare about it, it's also nice to know the family beforehand, because then it's not awkward. I have a really good relationship with my sisters-in-law. I completely consider them like my sisters, basically. I talk to them about pretty much everything. So you can have a really great, amazing relationship with your in-laws. And we were talking before my husband and I got married. So it wasn't like I just totally didn't know them and then we're married. And observing a potential spouse with their family and seeing the dynamic and everything helps you to get to know them better as a person and kind of what makes them tick and how they are. Obviously, the way that a person acts in front of their family and the way that a person acts in front of their friends can be totally different. And so that kind of leads me into my next tip. Talk to their friends. If you have any ability to find out who, their best friend is, who are the people they hang out with the most, and talk to them about who this person is, just hang out with them if you can. Chances are, if they feel that they can't act 100% genuine around their family, which, come on, let's be honest. There's plenty of Muslim kids out there whose parents are like really, really judgmental, and they're not gonna act how they actually act in front of their parents. So you need to see both what a person is like in front of their friends and what they're like in front of their parents, and ask their friends about what this person is like. This next one might not apply in every single instance, but I think that you should ask the person if they have had any previous relationships and essentially what went wrong or what they learned about those relationships. Because there's definitely people who are divorced in our community looking to get remarried, and also not even just something as, extreme as divorce, but people who've been looking for a partner for a while, and maybe there was somebody they were considering getting engaged to and it never happened, or, you want to find out what they learned from these previous relationships, if there was any, and what went wrong. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is a few quick tips, not really questions necessarily, about what you should be looking for or looking at. Find out when they're looking to get married, or, if they're serious about getting married. Some people are like, I want to get married tomorrow. If I find the right person, I'm ready to go right away. And other people are like, well, I don't really know. Like, maybe if it works out or whatever. You need to find out what's right for you. If you guys are both like, I want to get married right away people, then okay, that's great. But, you need to find out what time scale the other person is on. Additionally, I kind of want to put like an asterisk on that. And I really, 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 really encourage you to be with somebody for at least 2 years before you get married. And I know somebody out there is going to start screaming, haram, oh my God, what are you talking about? People having relationships before they're married. And what I mean by that is you should be getting to know this person, in my opinion, on a long term before you decide to make that commitment. And let me say why I think that 2 years is appropriate. I think that within the first year you're in any kind of relationship, you're almost in like the puppy dog phase. It's like they can do no wrong. They're so amazing. I'm just in love with this person. Like once you really get to know them, right? And you, even though you may not realize it, and the other person, even though they may not realize it, are probably on their best behavior during that time. That they're going, oh, I want to look really good for this person. I want to, like, you know, be the best that I can be to show off myself to this person. And they might not even be thinking about it consciously. But by the time the 1 year rolls around and it starts going into 2 years, I think that will start being the part where anybody who's not serious about what's going on in the relationship starts trailing off, right? It's almost a way of, you know, weeding out people who are not going to be a serious contender to being your husband or your wife. My next quick tip is don't compromise on your values. It can be easy when you get into a new relationship to notice some things about somebody and be like, ooh, that doesn't seem right. Ooh, I don't know if I really like that. Ooh. And all of these little things come up and you keep excusing them in your head because you like the person so much. And I just want to say, don't compromise on your values. Pay attention to those red flags. And marriage is in a lot of ways about compromise, about give and take, about not just thinking of yourself, but when it is your core values, do not give that up for another person. Don't do it. It's one thing if you feel like somebody makes you a better person, but don't bring yourself lower for somebody. Thank you all for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you have any tips for what somebody should ask or find out before marriage, please let me know in the comments section below so that everybody can benefit from that. And I will be seeing you guys around here next week. Thank you so much for watching, and assalamu alaikum.